Hey, Mark here. I just want to give you a quick heads up. So, we originally recorded this episode for Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. But since I love Deep Rising so much, and since this is such a fun episode, I also wanted to promote it here on Movies, Films, and Flicks. So, if you haven't listened to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, go over there and check it out. Listen to all of our episodes, or listen to us talk about Deep Rising here. We love this movie. We had a great time recording this episode, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Thanks. Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that is currently trying to blow up his $400+ million cruise liner. It's Jay Cluitt.
Hello! Hi, Mark.
Hi.
And today we are not talking about Deep Blue Sea. We are doing a palate cleanse. We have finished talking about Deep Blue Sea 2. We have not yet begun to talk about Deep Blue Sea 3. Today we're talking about Deep Rising, a film that has come up several times on the show, which I had never seen before last week, and Mark is a fan of, so we figured, hey, let's do a one-off. Let's talk about Deep Rising.
I mean, the name works. It was released a year beforehand. It's on they're on a boat called the Argonautica, Deep Blue Sea Aquatica. The gigantic monster herds people different places. The sharks in Deep Blue Sea herd people. So, yeah, I mean, it's basically a very smart monster herding likable characters around.
Yeah, exactly. But Mark, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever just stared at a beach ball? Just kind of picked up a beach ball, just like stared at it in confusion? Like,
yes.
Good, okay. Because I haven't, but when Jaimin Hanzu just picks up a beach ball at one point in Deep Rising and just kind of stares at it. And that stuck with me.
Oh, I love that scene. Vivo. Oh, he gets an axe to the head.
He does. That's like amongst the most unexpected deaths I've ever seen in a film. I thought something's going to happen. He's going to open the vault and be disappointed with what's inside. I didn't expect an axe to come out and just end him.
And to kill a cheeky Jaimin Hansu. You never see Jaimin Hansu being very cheeky. And this one he's like, money, 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 money.
He's having fun. The whole crew of mercenaries, they're all having a great time until they start dying in this film. Like when they first fire off their guns, they're like, these are awesome! These are cool, she's firing guns! They're having such a good time.
The director, Stephen Sommers, in the commentary, he said, yeah, they're just a bunch of lunkheads. And I love that about them, too. But I don't know if you noticed, so in Deep Rising, I love it when they actually get onto the Argonautica. And they all know all the floors, and they keep repeating it. So floor 6, lobby, casino, floor 3. Like, they know exactly the layout of where they're going. And I found that to be really refreshing for a team of mercs or kind of lunkheads. They memorized the entire layout of the place. And they were quite... I don't know. I liked it. I thought that was pretty cool. It was neat.
It's like when in Ocean's 11 they're running through the heist plan. It's like at minute 14 I'm doing this. At minute 17 I'm doing this. So where are you going to be? I'm going to be on the casino, level 3. I'm on the vault, level 6. I'm on the bridge, top level.
But it's little touches like that, and it's little things like this that bum me out. That Deep Rising just tanked at the box office. Much like the tank that they had in Vancouver that burst, that cost them over $1 million, which ended up several $1 million, which cost them more money than would they had they just shot at the Paramount lot in Los Angeles. Yeah. But the studio wanted to save money, so they shipped them to Vancouver. The tank burst, and they spent more money.
Yeah, because this lost money. Like we were talking about before the show, I'd never heard of this film before it came up on our show. This is just, but. I freaking loved it. I somehow had nostalgia for something I'd never seen before. I watched this and I somehow felt like I enjoyed it as a child, despite never having... I think I would have been 11 when this came out. If I'd seen this when I was like 12, 13, it would have been my favourite film. I loved everything that happened in it. All the characters, all the kind of the gory deaths, the effects on the monster. It's all like the half-eaten Billy that drops out of the monster at one point. It's fantastic.
For 98, it looks incredible. And you can see early The Mummy in there, too. There's early special effects that look like that. And I think one reason why it might have disappeared first of all, it got released under Hollywood Pictures, under Disney. It didn't even get a Touchstone release.
Oh.
It was part of the Hollywood Pictures, which is kind of the lesser tier. And so if something was released on Hollywood, you're kind of, oh man, it's a Hollywood picture release because Disney didn't want it. And then it also opened up in January of '98. And so it had Titanic at number 1, steamrolling everything. Yeah. I mean, it was destroying everything. But it also had Great Expectations, Good Will Hunting, As Good as It Gets, Wag the Dog, Fallen, Tomorrow Never Dies, Amistad. Like, it just had all these, it had a lot of competition against it. And then it also, I don't know how much you researched into this, but they were going to shoot it really, they were going to, and I apologize if I'm being reductive, but I just love this about the movie. They were going to go in super early in like 96, 95, shoot this movie. It was going to be called Tentacle with Harrison Ford. He turned it down. They cut the budget down to $45 million, sent it to Vancouver, cast Treat Williams, who was magic in this movie. Just pure magic. Jeez Louise. I love his dialogue in this. It's beautiful. They go out there. We're going to shoot it. They went to Vancouver. The tank burst, so then they lost a ton of time on that because then they had to rebuild the tank. There's millions of dollars in damage. And then they had the in-house visual effects crew do it. But they were like, yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. But then they ended up being delayed for a year on visual effects with the CGI. So ILM had to come in and do the finishing touches on a lot of the monsters. Some of them got ignored, but other parts looked beautiful. But then when it came out, you already had Titanic, 2 by Sea, Anaconda, Mimic. Like, you had all these monster movies. So it was going to come out before Titanic. It was going to come out before Anaconda. It was going to come out before all these big old creature features, all these cruise ship movies, Speed 2, all this kind of stuff. And then when it comes out, it's like, okay, Ghost Ship. There was Virus. So this movie comes out, and it's just part of, like, it's another cruise ship horror picture with monsters. And it got dumped in January, and it just vanished. And Ebert hated it. Ebert is like my favorite movie critic, Jay, and I'm so sorry because I know you want to talk about this movie, but he dunked on it so hard.
I'm happy to learn about it as well, Mark. I did very little research other than watch it twice. So
people just this movie is funny, and Kevin J. O'Connor in this movie.
Benny's in this film.
Benny, his lines in this movie as Joey Pantucci or Tooch, he is hilarious in this movie. You have Wes Studi. Famke Janssen, I think, is the unheralded MVP. I mean, her record, she's wanted for attempted murder, robbery, theft. What else? I wrote them all down here. She's wanted for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the last one was attempted murder on her ex-boyfriend. But yeah, even like in the Mercs, you've got mentioned Joan Hounsey, you've got Cliff Curtis, Jason Fleming, Clifton Powell. It's a real like rogues gallery of like late 90s character actors. I was overjoyed to see all of them. Like I love Jason Fleming. I watch him in anything, and he's great. They're all great. They all just have like enough character, enough personality to make them memorable, and to know who to follow through this. like the Aussie who just keeps on throwing up.
Yeah. And that's not even a country. I even liked. I love the relationship between Joey Pantucci and Lila. Like, there's a scene, so she dies, and later on when Tooch is doing some welding, he's crying. There's a crying scene, and he has sleeves. So it's
but you know when we talked, I think it was when we talked to Kevin, he said that if you welding in water films, they tend to die, and Layla is doing some welding, and she's the first to die of our crew here. So
yeah, never weld in a horror movie.
No,
I don't know how you know you're in a horror movie.
just don't weld. Just don't weld in general. Just to be safe.
And I was worried, Jay, because you sent me a message and you said, I'm about to watch Deep Rising. I'm like, yeah. And then I never heard back from you. And sometimes, typically, if you loved it, you would have been like, Mark, holy crap. But then I heard nothing. So I was like, uh-oh.
I mean, it's been a busy week. It has some things going on this week, but I apologise for not replying. But yeah, I did kind of think, we're going to talk this in a few days' time. I'd want to just come into it. I love this film. Let's talk about this film. It's great. I'll save it for her.
Dude, Treat Williams gets it. I mean, I think, okay, one of my favorite moments in this film, it's Finnegan and it's Tooch, and they're running into an elevator, and they come across Trillian St. James, played by Famke Janssen, who Claire Farloni was in this movie for a week, and then they said that they had creative differences, so they sent her away and they brought in Famke Janssen. But when she smacks Tooch in the face with her flat and breaks his nose, and then they're in the elevator, and it opens up, and they get a bunch of guns pointed at them. So you have Tooch and you have Finnegan dropping their guns, and then she drops her shoe.
Drops a shoe. Yeah.
It's hilarious. Like, that's funny. That's an old B movie romp. It's funny. That's a funny moment, yeah. And I don't know why people hated that.
I don't know. I can't explain it. But yeah, I wasn't on board with just how much abuse Benny has of Tooch. Like, he's Benny throughout my entire notes, because it's Kevin J. O'Connor. It's Benny from The Money. That's just that's what he'll be forever. Is Benny. So I just wasn't on board with how much abuse he received from literally everyone that he meets. Like, just as soon as Famke Janssen meets him, she breaks his nose, and she'll break the rest of his face. Not that anyone will notice. That's the first time she's met this guy. And he's snooping around on the ship when he finds the warheads that the mercenaries have got on, and they'll beat the living hell out of him. They led into it. They practically kill him. Mm-hmm. And he gets shot by Wes Studi later in the film.
We need to feed them. How are we going to slow them down? Pop.
But okay, we'll get into it. But Wes Studi's death is my favourite one, because it's so brutal, but he so deserves it for like he shot Tooch to slow him down to feed one of the monsters. Didn't work. He got caught instead, and then Tooch gives him the gun to finish himself off before he gets eaten by a monster, and instead he fires it at Tooch, and then he goes, "Oh, I missed him. I'll shoot myself. No bullets left," and he gets a horrific hours-long, gets drunk alive instead. So glad that he got his just desserts.
I mean, that's an epic. I'm going to say it. That's an all-timer death right there. I love it.
That's a Dr. Jim Whitlock level death, I think, of how kind of protracted it is.
It's just so funny. I love when he shoots at Pantucci or Benny. This is random, but we were watching the movie, I paused it, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, "Hey, O'Connell, I got all the horses." And then I went, "Hey, Benny, you're on the wrong side of the river." I had to yell that, and then I just pressed play because I love Benny so much.
It's great.
So Hanover shoots at him, and I just love Tooch goes, "You a-hole." And when Trevor Goddard, who plays T-Ray, was like, "I don't like you." He's like, "You don't even know
me."
Yeah, he just met me. And he's hurt by it.
Everyone hates him so much that he's such a beaten down personality. Like he knows he's expendable, but he survives. I'm so glad he survives.
And he gets a crying moment. He gets a cry over Layla. I wish she was cool. I wish she would have lived. Yeah. But he gets a cry, and he sticks up for her on the boat. Remember when they're kind of talking to her? The one Cliff Curtis, he just wants to hook up with a woman all over the world.
He's not had a Korean yet, as he says.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Again, a very deserved death.
And I love though that Benny's gonna fight him, and then one of the mercs goes, "What are we in high school? Let's knock this off." And that was refreshing. Like, they're a bunch of bros, but they never really go after Trillian. They never go after Lila. They're just kind of brats to them, except for Curtis.
So I feel like if Curtis had met Trillian, then there would have been a conversation at least. And I'm kind of glad it didn't get to meet.
Don't you just get tired of mercs? Just, hey, like, they really avoided that. And I'm not applauding a movie for doing the right thing, but it's just refreshing not to have that in this, because they just get right to business.
Absolutely.
And Finnegan's just playing poker. He has Layla outside working. He's like, "I'm busy here."
So you say, you've commended Treat Williams. He's actually, if I had to find some problems with the film, he might be on the list of problems. This is the first Treat Williams film I've seen. I've never... apparently he's Aaron's dad in 127 Hours. I don't remember him in that, but fine.
He's in The Phantom with Billy Zane?
Yeah, I've been down his CV. I've seen nothing else he's in. I have not seen
you gotta see The Phantom.
It's on my list. I'll get there. Cool. I'm sure he is. But I didn't know that Harrison Ford was originally wanted for this role, because it's very clear. I think somebody probably told Treat Williams that, because he is very much being Han Solo on the water, with his just whole his quips, his demeanor, his entire attitude is just trying to be a Han Solo parody. He's basically Lone Star from Spaceballs, is how I kind of came across this, and the whole way.